What's up, everyone? We are live at 5. Is it Tuesday?
No, it's Wednesday.
May 6th. I'm Paul Wontorek.
I'm Beth Stevens.
I don't know what day it is, but I know it's 5 p.m. Eastern time, Broadway time. And we're joined, as always, by Caitlin Moynihan.
Hello.
Hello. And Beth, who is in the house today? Who do we have as our guest?
Well, I feel like we should stand up because she stops the show, makes everyone stand. Lauren Patten in Jagged Little Pill.
That's true. That is definitely a show-stopping performance that Broadway is missing badly right now, but it'll be back. She'll be back. It'll be back. It's all going to be fine. We will find out what she's been up to, but first, let's do today's news.
No surprise here, but we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see this new Avett Brothers musical.
That's right. You know, it's another day, another postponement. This time it's the Avett Brothers musical, which is called Swept Away, and it has lots of Broadway talents attached to it. John Gallagher Jr. and Stark Sands are starring in it, as you saw in that photo, and it's directed by Tony winner Michael Mayer. This is at Berkeley Rep in California, and now it's going to be next summer. It was supposed to be June 14th through July 26th. This summer, they're saying similar dates in 2021.
So, Beth, this is not based on the horrible Madonna movie.
Interesting that you should say that, because it has nothing to do with that.
Good.
Absolutely nothing. And that's a little footnote in Madonna's history. This is by Tony winner John Logan, who won as Tony for the play Red, and of course was represented on the Broadway by Moulin Rouge. And let me read what it's about. It's set in 1888 already, not the movie.
Nope.
Off the coast of New Bedford, Massachusetts, when a violent storm sinks their whaling ship. Got to have a whaling ship in 1888. The four surviving people, a young man in search of adventure, his older brother who has sworn to protect him, a captain at the end of a long career at sea, and a worldly first mate, that's John Gallagher Jr., of course, who has fallen from grace, each face a reckoning. If you go to thestorybroadway.com, John Gallagher Jr. has a little message for you, so you can see his beautiful face.
Okay, I'm into it. I like that. I think it sounds good, unlike the Madonna movie.
Yeah, and some of Broadway's biggest composers are coming together for a benefit album.
Clearly, including this guy, that's Mr. Alan Menken. We all know him, and he's somewhere that's green. That's the inside there. Yep, because he wrote Little Shop of Horrors. Anyway, Broadway record. He wrote a lot of other shows too, didn't he? Yeah, a lot. Broadway Records and producer Andrew Gurley, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Gurl, releasing an album to benefit Actors Fund and the Dramatists Guild. Sorry, I don't have my notes correct. And it's a bunch of new songs from some of your favorite composers like Alan Menken, Lynn Ahrens, Stephen Flaherty, David Zippel, Todd Allman, Carmel Dean. Anyway, there's a lot of people. Ryan Scott Oliver. I'm just listing the ones that I know personally. All the tracks will be the products of collaborations and recordings done during this time. People at home, as you know, you can make music sound good if you work really hard right now. So anyway, the album comes out on June 26th, and it's called Artists in Residence, right? That's what it's called. Yeah, because that's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
We are residing.
Yeah, and some of Broadway's biggest powerhouses are coming together to support the Covenant House.
You know, Broadway performers in the Covenant House have a long-standing relationship, and normally when things aren't like they are now, Broadway performers and lots of people volunteer to sleep outside to just show people and also raise funds and awareness for homelessness. And this is an international charity that provides housing, food, and healthcare to children and youth facing homelessness, and now frontline staff working during the pandemic. So there's a special event this year. Instead of sleeping outside, which isn't safe right now, on May 18th at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time, it will be co-hosted by Audra McDonald and 60 Minutes correspondent John Dickerson, who are both members of the Covenant House, and they are on the board of directors. There's so many people involved with this. Paul, should I just read this crazy, crazy list?
Sure.
I'll go through it quickly. There are, first of all, you can find it on Broadway On Demand, iHeartRadio Broadway, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Stars in the House, our friends over there. And the evening will feature performances and appearances by, ready, I'm going to take a deep breath, Meryl Streep, Diane Keaton, John Bon Jovi, Rachel Brosnahan, Stephen Colbert, Martin Short, Dolly Parton, Dionne Warwick, Stephanie J. Block, Tony Shalhoub. I'm not going to go on. I'm only in the beginning of it. It goes on. Alex Newell, Karen Olivo, so many people that we know and love. So if you check in, you'll get to see their shining faces for a good cause.
Awesome.
Yeah, and today Actors Equity's president gave a little update about what's going on right now.
Yeah, so that's Kate Shindle, who is not only Actors Equity president, but also a big Broadway belter and a former Miss America. She has a lot of titles. They had a press conference today, and I'm actually reading this fresh because I didn't read the story yet. But it was a press call with union professionals in the arts, and they talked about all the challenges during COVID-19. Actors Equity represents 52,000 actors and managers working in the theater, and Shindle emphasized the need for government funding during this time and talked about safety standards and said historically there's no such thing as social distancing for our members, particularly actors, regardless of the size of the audience. We know we are going to need new standards going forward. So obviously this is a big discussion. Everybody wants Broadway to come back. Everybody knows Broadway can't come back exactly how it left. So this is sort of the ongoing discussion. And Kate Shindle's also, isn't she running for re-election too?
That's possible.
I feel like I've seen that on Facebook.
She also mentioned, just so everyone knows, that she said it was premature to talk about dates. So we don't have a date when Broadway will be back, but when it is, they want to make sure that the standards and practices and safety measures are in place to keep everyone healthy.
Absolutely. Let's bring back Caitlin. You looked very dreamy there, like you were just sort of lost in the moment. Anyway,
about Broadway being open again, that's all.
Okay, that's fair. That was a good save. Hey, Caitlin, why don't you tell us about today's guest?
Gladly. Yes, guys, we got Lauren Patten here with us today for another episode of Live at 5 Home Edition, live on both Facebook and YouTube. You guys, Lauren has been with Jagged Little Pill since its world premiere. She's been there the very first show. She's the originated that role. Previously, she was in Fun Home on the Broadway, which was her Broadway debut. And guys, she won a drama desk for her ensemble work in Broadway's The Wolves. So we're so excited that she's here today. We're going to talk about everything she's been up to. You can follow her on social at Patten Lauren. Leave all of your questions in the comments below. And please welcome Lauren and Paul.
Hello there.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to
Hold
see
on
you
one
again.
second, because I think.
Can you hear me?
My AirPods might have just died.
You know what? I did a quick
anything.
charge of mine. Are they dead? You know, it's really fun. Mine might die during the interview as well. I was right. It made the sound. It made the sound. Right. It made the sound.
Okay.
It made the sound.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, and I can hear you. It was my AirPods.
I hear a little echo. Do you guys hear the echo? No. No one else does? Okay, there's an echo.
Oh no.
Maybe I'll. No, it's fine. I'll take mine out. This is just the world we live in now.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
No, it's okay. You know what? Apple didn't make them last long enough. Hold on.
Well, I'm using them all the time now.
Hold on. You hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is there an echo? Hold on.
I'm so sorry.
Hi again.
Hi.
There's an echo.
Oh no.
It's fine. I'm hearing it. That's fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm embarrassed now that I didn't charge my AirPods well enough.
It's Apple. It's not your fault. A lot of money.
I know it. I'm doing all right though, Paul. How are you?
Hold on. It's gonna be fine. Everything's fine.
Oh no.
No better. I still hear me.
Oh no.
Oh. What about now? No. Caitlin is saying it's bad, and Caitlin's saying it's bad. Anyway, talk. How does the life go? We all felt it would go. We were like a little character. How's it been sort of being away from her?
It's been hard. I mean, it's been hard. It's also, I don't know. It's interesting because there's always been something fruitful from taking a break and then coming back. We've done that multiple times with this show. We've done workshops, and then we did the out of town tryout in Cambridge, and we took a long break, and we did another workshop, and then took a break and came back. And there's always something really creative that comes out of that. So, even though we don't know when we will come back again, I'm trying to just hope that something more creative will come out of it. Because of course I miss the show so much, and in an ideal world, it would have been lovely to just continue going. But obviously it was very clear for the safety of the audience and everyone backstage as well that we just couldn't continue. So
what is the thrill like of getting to sing particularly that song, the song? I mean, when they were writing a Jagged Little Pill musical, it's like, well, who's going to get to sing You Ought to Know? I mean, that's like, we all need to know that. And it's you. And it gets this huge reaction. I mean, it's sort of built in. You knew that when I saw it in Boston. I've never seen people in Boston lose their mind as much as they did after you sang that song. Then it was happening on Broadway. You sort of like, you must get really used to this like crazy energy, and now you're just in silence. You know what I mean? Like you were really living this like very amped up kind of existence, and that must be a transition a little bit. I mean, you were kind of riding a wave of this thing.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's a feeling unlike any other. I mean, it's so rare in the theater for that to happen, and it's just this huge outpouring of energy. And I don't feel like you get used to it. I haven't, because it's something that I don't know. To me, it's like if I ever got used to it, somebody needs to slap me in the face. It's a very unusual thing, and it's so every time it does feel special. But yeah, that it is weird to be in the 8-show-a-week routine, and it's really an athletic pursuit, and all the things that you need to do to keep yourself physically and emotionally healthy during that time. And yeah, there's so much work that goes into that, and so much energy. And of course, too, you're putting all of this energy as a member of this new show. You're putting energy into what is running up to the Tony season of hoping you're in a new musical. You want your show to be represented, and the press and stuff that comes along with that. So yeah, it was definitely feels like you're sort of on a train that's hurtling along, and then just somebody throws the emergency brake. So it was weird for sure at first to try to get myself to calm down, down and relax. But there's also something that's been really nice about that now, to actually teach myself to rest a little bit.
Did you never had like a polite applause night? I mean, it's just not that kind of.
I wouldn't say polite applause, but there's definitely been nights where there hasn't been a standing ovation. It's happened before. It's not a guarantee, and it doesn't feel weird when it doesn't happen, because that's not a huge. It's not the kind of thing where you say this is expected. It's sort of when it doesn't happen, it honestly probably feels more like just a normal audience, what it would normally be for any of the other amazing numbers in the show. But no, I would not go so far as to say there was ever polite applause. That would kind of suck after that song.
So we're almost 2 months into this strange period in our lives. How do you think you will go back into regular life different? I don't know. What do you think has sort of has anything sort of reconfigured in you, in your mind, or in sort of your motivations? I'm hearing this from a lot of friends. People are really sort of having moments. How has it affected you?
Yeah, I think what feels really clear to me and to a lot of people is that there really can't be a just going back to normal after this. That doesn't feel like an appropriate response, because the truth of the matter is, for me personally, it's been a really great chance to refocus my priorities on my friends and family. I'm with my family right now and spending time with my parents, my sister, my brother, my young nephews, and that's really important to me. So, and when you're in the 8 show a week, I barely have time or emotional energy you're taking up so much with the show. A lot of times if I have time, I just want to be by myself and recharge. So you don't have that space. And that's been really nice to refocus on that. But I also just think that as a global community, and particularly if we want to just look at our country, for me, I feel like this has really laid bare the systemic issues of inequality that we deal with both in the world and in our country in particular, both in how it has to do with race, with class, with orientation, all of that. I mean, of course, we're watching as the people who are marginalized are bearing the brunt of this. Mm-hmm. So I think that I feel very strongly as a larger community, we really can't just do this, let's go back to normal and continue with the very stark inequality that we're dealing with, because it's so clear right now. If it wasn't clear already, which it should have been, it's so deeply clear now. So yeah, that feels like a big shift. I'm hoping that translates into shifts in community.
Mm-hmm. You know what? You were also really good in Fun Home. You were fantastic in Fun Home. That was a pretty special group of actors. Whenever I see any of those actors, I just think like it's so amazing how they all sort of, how everyone, that group of people came together to tell that story, and it was just sort of like a really special family, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Actually, we've been doing Zoom calls. We had a big Fun Home Zoom call a few weeks ago, and then I've been doing FaceTimes and Zoom calls with different people in the cast. I think that there's always with every show something that creates an aspect of family, because you're so intimate and close with these people, and you have to get very close very quickly. But with Fun Home, there was something extra. I don't even really know how to describe it. I think it was just an extremely special group of people. And I mean, we are still deeply close to this day. The people, my friends from Fun Home all came to see me in Jagged Little Pill in a big group. And then Joel Perez was in a show off Broadway, and we all went to go see him in a big group. I mean, it's how we still engage in this family of support 5 years after the opening, and it's special. That doesn't happen all the time. I just saw
Roberta, how do you say her last name? Colindrez? She's on Mrs. America. I saw her on the Hulu show, Mrs. America. Yeah.
I know, she's killing it. She's also on Vida. If anybody watches that, that's a great part of Vida.
I love that you originally understudied both Medium Allison and Joan, which means you knew both sides of that bedroom seduction scene and changing my major to Joan, that whole drama. I love that. I love that you got to play out both.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really cool particularly because they're very different characters too. So to be able to play both was really fun. It was also really challenging until I had gone on for both characters enough, because I never had anybody to practice the physical stuff with. And as I'm sure you recall, there's physical stuff in those scenes. And of course I would read, often Merrick Smith, who was the original understudy for Joel in that show, he would read the other side with me. So I had somebody to read the scenes with, but I had nobody to practice the kiss with and all the different things with. So that was intimidating when I first started going on. It's hard to play. It's hard to understudy your main scene partners.
Would you star as older Allison in the revival in 20 years? I mean, are you down for that?
Please, you don't even understand how much I want to do that. Big Allison has my favorite songs in the show, and I would die to do that.
Do you have any other dream roles? I love picturing you in like classic things or roles we already know. What are some of your go-to ideas?
Yeah, I'm always kind of bad at this question, but I've been thinking about it a little bit more. I mean, my favorite musical growing up was Les Mis. I mean, that was all that I wanted to watch ever. And so I'd love to play Eponine and or Fantine anytime. But also I recently did, for Playbill, I did a video of doing a self-tape for Last 5 Years, but as Jamie. Uh-huh. And I now want to do a queer Last 5 Years as Jamie.
Yeah, I'm down for that. That's great. I'm gonna pop Caitlin in so we can see what some of the fans are asking.
Yeah. Okay. So, kind of going off of what you were just talking about, Lauren, a lot of people are saying this, but I'm going to choose whatever. On YouTube says, "Hi, Lauren, fun home and your medium Allison is the reason I felt comfortable to come out. And I just want to say thank you." And a lot of people have said similar things about Joe and Jagged Little Pill. How does that feel like to see messages like this?
Well, thank you to that person and everybody writing. That means probably more than I can say, because honestly, it, for me, is why I do this job, is if I can help someone feel safe, if I can help someone feel seen by telling a story. You know, obviously it's very fun to sing You Ought to Know and get to rock belt and rock out and do all those things. And obviously I have fun with it, but ultimately the reason that I've committed my life to doing this work is because I think that there is something about storytelling, and particularly storytelling in the theater, that has the capacity to change lives. And so when people, and I get a lot of letters, both at Fun Home and in Jagged Little Pill, I've gotten a lot of letters from young queer people who didn't feel like they saw themselves prior to seeing the show, didn't feel comfortable telling their friends or their family about their identity, and to know that both, you know, my performance, but also the show as a whole and what was written gives people the space to do that is why I do my job. So it means a lot to me when people say that.
Oh, so wonderful. I love to see that. Okay, I think we have time for one last question. And honestly, a lot of people just want to know about how Snug is doing. May we see our king Snug?
Okay, so quarantine has officially broken me because I got Snug on Instagram. It's officially broken me. I don't even know where he is right now. I think he's hiding. Snug! This is turning into quite the live as I just walk around searching for my cat. Snug! I think he's just hiding. Snug is doing great. Snug, so I don't know if you know, Paul. I know that you've been doing theater news. I can't find this cat. I know you've been doing theater news. Big news was that there was something called hashtag Snug Appreciation Week on Instagram, and it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. Uh-oh. We found him.
Oh my God. Oh. So cute.
He wants no part of this live, but there he is.
Thank you for finding Doug.
I know it's important. We need to give the people what they want.
So what is your, you said to go back to New York, actually. A lot of people have obviously left New York, but you're going to sort of go back and see, what do you miss about New York City?
Paul, I miss everything. I love New York. I've always wanted, from the time that I was a young kid, to live in New York. I just knew. I mean, partially because I knew I wanted to be in theater from the time that I was a young kid, but also I really love the city. And something that I'm actually really looking forward to that I still can do, that is New York, with my mask and socially distanced, is to take long walks, because that is one of the things about New York. Whenever I've been down or having a really hard day or angry or whatever it is, if I just go for a long walk in the city, it feels, there's something about it that just calms me in a way that walking truly anywhere else never has. I don't know what it is about the city, but I mean, I was in Vermont for a long time, just in a rural area, just to be close to nature and be able to walk and feel safe. And then I came to visit my family. But, you know, at a certain point, truly New York is home for me, and I want to be home, even if it's not exactly how it was when I left. But I want to be home at this point.
Of course. Well, hopefully it'll be back to normal soon enough, and you'll be remembering how to rip the roof off the Broadhurst Theater 8 times a week. I'm not worried. I think you can do it. I think that's your brand. That's your brand now.
It's that and Snug. That's all I've got anymore. That's the only reasons anybody knows anything about it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels home. We hope to see you on Broadway very soon. And
thank you. Thanks for having me. Love y'all.
Of course, yeah, and we'll keep in touch. Keep in touch. We'll see you soon. Hey, Kate, why don't you shoot out?
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today for another episode of Live at 5 Home Edition. You can follow along where we get your podcast by searching for hashtag Live at 5 and hitting that subscribe button. Be sure to tune in next time we talk to Melissa Errico.